congratulations on the new album.
Thank you.
Curious first about the decision to go solo guitar. First time for you.
Well, yeah, oddly enough, I've done a lot of albums where I play solo guitar, but then I overdub. So this one came about really. I was asked to do a couple of streaming concerts, pretty, during COVID, and I had been, really feeling pretty angsty generally and pretty stressed out by COVID, not only COVID, but also with the horrible situation here in the States with, police and vigilantes murdering Black people, and that sort of thing was just fairly overwhelming for me. And I was pretty, it took me a lot to get back to a place where I wanted to play music. I was pretty well immobilized, really. I was immobilized, I was angry, I was upset, I was stressed out, I was, I would say totally depressed, but it was really like a very difficult, angsty time. And of course, music does do that thing where once you can remember that it is your sanctuary, that it is your place of comfort and power, even, it's your place of strength and power. And then there it happens, then you're there, in the right place to play. Obviously, you need to work on your technique and things like that too, but that other part comes first. When you've been playing as long as I have, technique is a relative thing because you've built all the muscles, you've built all the foundation. So whether or not you can play some run as fast as you used to or anything like that becomes irrelevant because it's no longer about that. It's more about being able to connect with what you want to sing. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but that's kind of where it went.
There's a lot in that answer. Let's start first with the kind of systemic racism issues that you're describing, because I think that people spend too little time talking about the mental health impacts of those issues. And things got so extreme. At the same time that we were dealing with COVID, that was quite a confluence of events, wasn't it?
It really was, but it's, it's the systemic racism issue is not a new issue. It's been, it's the foundation of the nation, as they say. And it's not a new experience, to feel that. The frustration, I suppose, I was feeling was just a disconnect. You have to rectify that people don't really get it or know about it. And that's intentional. That's part of the system. Is to have it be this nebulous thing that unless you're really being directly affected by it, you're not really going to see it. And that's all by design, it's all part of the system in terms of the lack of education about what real history is. So people don't know, and they're not, obviously there's a certain amount of what I call willful ignorance, but there's also a certain amount of just, people don't know unless they get sparked to seek out the information, which is right there. That's the whole crazy thing about it. All the information is there, but it's getting people to take that little step from this hand-wringing phase to hey, I need to learn about this so I can see how it's affecting people, and also just really see how it's also affecting them. It's like it really impacts everyone. But obviously, it impacts some people more in their being able to function within this system.
When you listen to the new album now, how much of that do you hear in the work?
I hear a lot in the work, especially in a couple of pieces, but all of it is very emotional. it's very, very emotional, very connected to that ether, to that place where almost trance-like feeling of just being in that, completely in the music. So when I stop playing, I come back from there.
The term that occurred to me as I was listening to it was intimacy. There's a kind of raw closeness that I feel to you when I listen to this album. It's just you, right? And even as you say, no overdubs. This is just, it's as though I'm sitting in your living room with you, listening to you play some new material, some old material. It's quite a riveting experience.
Thank you. It was quite an experience to do it. It really was, because there's no it really is raw and real, and about as real as you can get. There's nothing else, like you say, there's nothing else there but that.
I'm curious, as such an accomplished musician, were there any feelings of vulnerability here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's completely raw, and everything's right on the surface. Neptunian, I guess.
I'm curious about the dedications. A couple of names we recognize there, of course, Ornette and Jerry Allen. Arthur Livermore, is that a reference to the politician?
No, Arthur Livermore is one of my best friend's father, was one of my best friend's father.
Okay.
He was a scientist, and my friend took care of his father, Arthur. He was in his 90s when I met him, and I would just go visit my friend John, and the relationship that they had. John was really taking care of his dad in the end stages of his life. So I got to know Arthur during that period for like maybe four years or so. And I just loved the way they interacted, and the sensitivity and the kindness. And it's coupled with the song Wish, which is a different piece, but same key, they went together very nicely. So I made them part of the same piece. I always play them together.
Those father-son relationships can be complicated, can't they?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So it was a beautiful thing to watch. And Arthur was, just very, very warm, very deliberate, very, very bright person. So I really enjoyed that time, both with him and just the relationship that he had with my friend.
Wonderful. And Karen?
Karen's my sweetheart. She's my, we just had our 10th anniversary.
Congratulations.
2 days ago, which was great. It's just the penultimate partner. Just everything is, we do everything together. We run everything by each other. We went through that whole period together, which was not easy, because I wasn't particularly easy to be around during that period. So I really had to, find some resources, some input, some help in delineating what was really happening in me, because we talked about the systemic racism. It's very destructive. It's a very destructive thing, also by design. It's designed to either make you go crazy or make you really strong, or both. It's really an attack on all of your systems. It's an attack on your relationships, an attack on your personal relationship with yourself. It's just a kind of thing, and you have to really dig deep to get yourself out of a certain state of being that doesn't serve you. It's basically like, you have somebody that's that is the person you're supposed to be with, and everything is working, but your inner turmoil is sabotaging that. It's sabotaging the beauty, So you have to remember that within all of this angst and terror is beauty and peace and love, you know. So you have to get back to who you actually are, because the system is meant to turn you into something else. It's meant to turn you into that view of yourself that's not real. You know, that's imposed.
These thoughts and feelings, I'm going to assume, have informed your work for many years, but it does sound from your descriptions that that's reached a heightened level. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, especially during that, you know, the period that I made the album, it was way, you know, it actually had gone to the point where I had to solve a lot of problems and figure things out. I was beyond that stage, but I was still in the stage of which I probably still am, still in the stage of outrage, you know, and but also the outrage is now tempered with understanding, you know, of myself and my relation to things. You know. I mean, you know, in some ways, you know, you have to, you know, constantly bringing up or feeling things that are, you know, unpleasant or painful is continues to be difficult, you know, because that is what this record is about. It's also about, obviously, the beauty of the lineage of the blues and music, but it's also underlyingly about this world we live in. That's you know, like I say in my notes, this spiky world that I inherited. You know, it's just like, you know, so you have to navigate that. That's a continuous process, but it's also, you know, a lot of joy. You know, it's a lot of joy.
I was going to ask you about blues music as a guitarist, and in particular, a solo guitar piece like this could easily be seen in the context of blues as it could be seen in the context of jazz. I'm curious if you're mindful of where one starts and the other stops, or how do the two musics fit together in your mind?
You know, for me, all music fits together in my mind. I have no boundaries, no limitations in terms of genre or anything like that. Even in terms of the instrument, I consider myself a conceptualist that plays the guitar. You know, that's really been my life. It's been thinking of concepts, what I want to do, how I want to do it. You know, not so much in terms of narrowing it down, but in terms of acceptance of the amount of music and material I have inside of me. You know, it's you know, I can pretty much do anything. So it's and I'm really open to that, to accessing whatever it is. And as I get older, of course, I have less and less. I put less and less limitations on myself. You know, I say, okay, you want to do that, do it. You know, if I want to, I release all kinds of music, you know, constantly. I find things in my archives that are, you know, again, genre is not my thing. I don't really like it or adhere to it or anything. But just so many different kinds of music that I've been working on over the years. And there were times when I would be, oh, no, you can't put that out. That's too this, too that. And now I'm at the point where, you know, if I feel it at the moment, I'm going to release it. You know, whether it be
Nice place to get to.
Yeah, you know, it's a great place. You know?
Yeah. Finally, I'm curious about, I believe, 2 different guitars used on this album.
Yeah.
And the last 3 tracks are on a Stratocaster.
The last 3, I think, are on the SG.
Oh, okay. So explain to me that shift. What was the thinking behind that?
You know, just how each piece, I mean, I actually probably played all the pieces on both guitars.
Okay.
So I probably just like the performance or the feeling of the pieces on the 2 different guitars at the time. Recently, I hadn't actually listened to any of those tracks in quite a while. I mean, the raw tracks. But I've come across, you know, there's a lot of pieces that a lot of versions that I didn't use. And I'm discovering some of those, and they're very different versions on the SG than on the Strat. You know, I use the Strat very kind of almost acoustically, you know, almost acoustic sounding. And the SG I use much more with that bluesy distortion, just on the edge of a real distortion, which for me is, you know, that is the blues. You know, the blues, most blues guitar players play distorted guitars. They've been doing that forever, you know, and that's an, you know, homage to my reverence for the blues, you know. And the blues to me is not, you know, 12 bars or anything to do with the form that's been imposed on it. The blues is, you know, from Albert Ayler to Hendrix to God knows how many other people and how many variants of the blues there are. You know, Ornette. It's just, you know, it's not a dead form. It's not a categorizable form. It's not an analyzable form. I mean, you can analyze anything according to whatever system you're using at the time, but that's not where it came from. You know, people like Sunhouse, you know, they may be 12 and a half bars and, you know, go to the 4 or never go to the 4, or, you know, there's no rules that one needs to adhere to, you know. There's only concepts and dimension, you know. I call it perception and perspective. That's how I think of music.